Hello, security pros, and good afternoon. And thank you for joining us on today's ESA webinar, DMP X1 Series Access Control Simplified. Thank you for joining. During this webinar, you will learn how the X1 Series Access Control Platform is the premier solution for simplified cloud-based door and elevator control. Leveraging the award-winning Virtual Keypad application makes managing facility security easier than ever. Get an inside look on the latest features and capabilities that enhance the user's experience, providing a comfortable, easy to manage, and effective access control system for the security of their facility and the safety of their employees and visitors. I'm Hannah Boone, ESA's Marketing Director, and I'm excited to lead this webinar here today. But before we dive in, I'd like to provide some tips for those of you joining us on your first ESA webinar. Welcome. You will be muted for the duration of the webinar, but that doesn't mean that we don't want to hear from you. So if a question or comment comes to mind at any point during today's session, please click the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen, and I'll ensure that we save some time for your questions with our experts here today. We'll also be recording this webinar so that you can re-watch the on-demand session and share it with your colleagues. Tomorrow, you'll receive an email thanking you for your attendance today, along with a link to the recording. Also, calling all security pros who are ready to take your career to new heights, make sure you don't miss out on the opportunity to join us at ESX 2024. It will take place on June 3rd through the 6th in Louisville, Kentucky, and it is the premier event for electronic security and life safety professionals. With engaging sessions, valuable networking opportunities, and cutting-edge technology exhibits, ESX promises to be an unforgettable experience. But don't wait, rates are increasing on May 18th, so make sure to register today. We at ESA realize that your time is valuable, and we really appreciate you spending some of that time here with us today. So without further ado, I'd like to hand it over to our DMP professionals. Today we have Troy Rydell, Director of Sales, and then we have Barrett Hillenberg, who is the Software Project Manager. Off to you guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Hannah. And again, thanks everybody for being here with us today. We are coming to you live from our studio here at our headquarters in Springfield, Missouri. As Hannah mentioned, I'm Barrett Hillenberg, and I'm joined today by Troy Rydell. We are so excited to be spending some time with you today to talk about our X1 Series Cloud Managed Access Control. And again, from everyone here at DMP to you, thanks for taking some time out of your day. As Hannah said, your time is valuable, and we appreciate that you've spent that time with us today. So Troy, today we want to talk about the X1 series. So the X1 series, for those that aren't familiar, is DMP's cloud managed access control system, which is a really fantastic system. And so today we want to spend some time going through some key features of the software, the setup in dealer admin, what your customers will experience in Virtual Keypad, and then some of the key features and distinctives that you get with the X1 series. So without further ado, Troy, tell us all about the X1.
Well, thank you, Barrett. My name is Troy Rydell, and I am the Director of Sales for X1. So what I like to say is DMP solves problems that most access control systems create for security dealers and their customers, while access control systems perform a fairly simple function, which is simply to control who goes where, when, and provide a report of those activities. Getting a system programmed, issuing credentials, running reports, and just the day-to-day operation can sometimes be fairly complex. DMP has reduced those complexities and provides an unparalleled user experience without sacrificing functionality. The result is your customers will have an experience that is comfortable, easy to manage for their security of their facility and the safety of their employees and visitors. So why is X1 the right solution for you? Well, here's the answer. X1 will help you close more access control opportunities in less time, a shortened sales cycle time, with a larger market to prospect and sell to. So when we talk about simple to sell, what does that mean? Well, unlike traditional access control, there are no servers to purchase, no software to load and configure. This is a cloud managed system. All you need is a browser or our Virtual Keypad app to manage the system from anywhere in the world. The second thing that makes it easy to sell is uber competitive subscription rates. There's no complicated math to do. We charge a subscription rate for a network connected door. There's another one for a network connected door with cell backup or a cell only connected door. Other manufacturers make you choose between additions or features, and I don't even know how sometimes integrators are able to load some of those pricing structures into your estimator. So that makes it easy to sell as well. So also, like we talk about, simple to install. You know, our installers are important. Labor is expensive. It is an access control system. We want to make it as simple as possible. Your installers are going to love us. The first thing is the programming of this system is very intuitive. It's done in dealer admin and virtual keypad. We have Ethernet, Wi-Fi, or cellular communication, so you can put a panel just about anywhere. And we also can leverage power over Ethernet capability, where you can have a panel sitting at the door, plug in the customer's PoE network, and power everything at that door. And simple to use, this might be the most important one, because your customers are going to be the referral source going forward. So when we talk about simple to use, as I mentioned, X1 is managed from DMP's award-winning Virtual Keypad browser and mobile app. End users can manage X1 from anywhere, anytime, using any device. And they can issue mobile credentials to employees, vendors, and visitors who need to get access right away. And of course, like all DMP products, X1 is manufactured in the USA. Many end users and a lot of you integrators prefer products that are made and supported in the United States. And every component, every one of our controllers, passes our rigorous testing prior to shipment. What does that mean to you? Well, when this thing lands on your dock, you put it in a bin, take it out to the project site, and your installers put it on the wall, it's going to work. You can trust that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Troy. Those are some important distinctives, not only of the X1, but really as DMP as a company. And so as we talk about some of those distinctives, we try to make our products easy for you to install, easy for you to manage, and easy for your customers. So Troy, for those that don't know, that might not be familiar with DMP, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. Dealer Admin is our cloud tool for you as the dealer or integrator, the installing company. That allows you to do all of your programming, user provisioning, but as well as many different business analytics tools, reporting, system analytics. So really is a very feature-rich tool for you as the dealer. And so with the X1, no different than any other product that we offer, that is the main tool that you as the dealer are deploying the X1 with, and it is very, very simple, and we're going to see a bit about that later. And then Virtual Keypad is the customer's tool, is your end user's tool to view and manage their X1 or any of their DMP products. So Troy, now that we know, okay, why X1, let's talk more specifically about the X1. So tell us some of the key features, differentiators of the X1 platform.
Sure, thank you, Barrett. I'll talk about a handful of some of my favorite. So we have covered DMP's Virtual Keypad browser and mobile app. It does make managing a customer's facility very easy. And in a few minutes, I'll demonstrate how simplified managing access control can be using Virtual Keypad. Another thing is, I touched on this a second ago, but whether you're working with a single site deployment in the middle of the city or in a multi-site application in rural areas where there's no internet available, flexible communications via Ethernet, Wi-Fi, or cellular means your salespeople can say yes to virtually any application.
And Troy, one thing I want to point out on the flexible communication, sorry, just to back up one thing, is, you know, there's many other cloud managed access control products in the market today. What's unique about the X1 with its cellular communication is that is just all in that same unit, right? So there's other platforms out there where you're having to deploy a cradle point or some other dedicated cellular communicator, and you're just plugging in the network port to that. What's unique about the X1 is we actually have a cellular communicator that you can add right to the unit you're already installing above the door. So it makes that deployment of cell either as primary in certain situations or as backup communication really, really simple. So it's not like a bolt-on. It is truly an integrated part of the solution. And that's an important thing to point out about the X1.
Absolutely, that's a great point. Let's go forward instead of backwards now. So let's talk about the X1, which is our access control platform, and the XR series, which is our what I would call our flagship intrusion series platform. We have integrated these two platforms. So now you've got access control integrated with intrusion. This allows sites that have an X1 series controller and XR series intrusion controllers to communicate with each other over the network. This allows users across both XR and X1 to swipe a card at an X1 reader and arm or disarm areas in the XR system based on permissions. So as we continue to develop this and implement new features, this integration will provide even more seamless operation for your customers.
Yeah, and what's unique about this as well is, there are, of course, as we look at the landscape, plenty of ways that you can integrate a access control solution with an intrusion, with relays, inputs, outputs, and trying to build some of those rules. But because we control, of course, the XR series as well, this is all taking place over the local network. So that, of course, makes it easy for your teams to deploy. You're not having to run extra wiring, do complicated programming. These are simply talking to each other over the network. So it makes that really, really easy. And again, it's just another benefit to deploying the X1.
Absolutely, Barrett. And I will show you that programming when we get to dealer admin. And I think that most people on this webinar will be surprised at just how simple it actually is to integrate these two systems. Okay, so let's talk about some of the improvements. I want to talk about an improvement that's actually in the background, but I will tell you that if it weren't as good as it is, then customers would notice it, and that's not what we want. So we have improved the panel to cloud communications. It's ultra fast. The X1 series controllers are now noticeably faster in not just, when you click a door, it's milliseconds until that reaction in the door happens, so it's unnoticeable, but populating events, adding users to the system, it's virtually real time. And so when that happens, and this is something we did in the background, but that is something that's very important to customers, because imagine, and I've seen it, I've been in the access control industry, manufacturing side for over 25 years, and I've seen where you hit a button on your phone and it takes 7, 8, 10 seconds to open a door. And I'm sure you've probably experienced that once or twice in your career as well. So the next thing is simplified system expansion. The X1 series controllers can support up to 7 additional doors. We would add those by enrolling something we call an XD module. XD stands for expansion door. So very, very creative. So when we add these XD modules in dealer admin, when you install an X1 controller, it comes with a single door. It's got 2 readers on board if you want to do in and out. So you've got that on the controller. Then we would add an XD, and what that would do is add that second door. It connects to the existing X1 controller via a 4-pin connector, and now you've got your second door with a simple XD installation, an expansion door. Then you can add the third, and all the way up to 8 total doors. So one X1 controller can support a total of 8 doors. X1 is, while we're talking about that, X1 is scalable to 1,000 doors per X1 system. What that does for you is give your customers and you the ability to expand as their business grows. We touched on a little bit of elevator control. So X1 can provide granular floor control to 90 floors of elevator control per cab, giving you the ability to sell into commercial property management, commercial real estate, and other multi-story facilities. And then finally, as far as features go, and the features we're going to touch on, one of my favorites, and certainly it's got the most buzz around it now, is, well, I would say in addition to Prox cards and smart credentials and biometric credentials, such as fingerprints, X1 also provides the ability to easily assign users Bluetooth mobile credentials, facilitating the growing demand for frictionless access. Just a simple wave of the hand allows users with a mobile credential to enter the facility. They keep their phone in their pocket, they step up to the reader contacts the phone, says, hey, who is this? As I swipe my hand in front of the reader, that provides intent, and then it'll open the door if I have permission. Now, the reason why we want all of those steps to happen, and it's fairly simple, but the reason why we want that to happen, we want to show intent, is we don't want anybody walking down a hallway and having the doors on each side of them click, 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 click as you walk past. So that's why we have you wave your hand in front of that reader, which shows intent. So what I'd like to do now is jump into, we'll do dealer admin first, and we'll talk about how dealers manage customers and systems and what you can do there, some of the programming, that type of thing. And then we'll go into Virtual Keypad to talk about how end users can manage the system. So first of all, when you look at dealer admin, there'll be a group of customers. So a dealer will have all of their customers listed. Here in this demo site, I've got one customer, it's Free Spirit Scuba Shop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the Free Spirit system, which is the X1. It shows me what type. I'll click on that. And now I'm in the access control portion of this installation. So the first thing you see at the top is a plus doors. There's some online stuff here. These are your actual door controllers. You see some doors below those. Those are XDs that are connected to controllers. We have an elevator control system here. We also have some card formats loaded, outputs, and some video services connected. So what's nice about this is as an integrator, you can look at this system and right away you notice a couple of things. You see online, online, online. So that means all of our controllers are online. There's 3 states that are possible here, and I'll talk about those in just a second. So the next thing that we can do is we can jump into one of these controllers. So I'll jump into this first controller, and now what we have is the actual controller programming that goes on for this door. So as we add doors, we continue to program how we want those doors to act in the system. So here I've got the repair shop door. It's connected via network. There are 3 options here. There's network. I should say Easy Connect is network. Easy Connect with cell backup, which means we're connected to primary would be network. Your failover would be cell backup, and then we have cell only. So this controller is connected Easy Connect. I've got my strike time set, my door configuration. I can do Weekend or OSDP. I can do some output settings and names, as well as connect this to a fire zone. I can include this door, as you can see, in a lockdown, and I may have a door sensor request to exit and some other things happening here. This is the second door. If I wanted to add a door to this 2-door system, all I would do is I would come down to the bottom and hit Add Door. And now I'm ready to add this 3rd door. The other thing you'll notice, it's kind of light, but right here, it'll actually tell me how many doors I have left that I can add behind this X1. So really powerful stuff, tells us what's going on all along the way. As you can see, very easy to program as we add doors. The other thing that I want to show you here is replace X1. So let's say that something happens to one of the X1 controllers. It takes a power surge, gets hit by lightning, something like that. All you have to do is click on the X1, replace X1, enter the new serial number for that new controller, put it in, just replace all the Phoenix connectors. So you unplug the Phoenix connectors, plug in the new Phoenix connectors to the new panel, put in the serial number and hit replace X1. It'll download all the data and you're back up and running. This takes a 2-hour operation to 30 minutes very easily. So very, very simple to do. This is where we talk about your installers are going to love us. So the other thing that I'd like to point out here is elevator control. Probably in my 25 years of access control manufacturing, probably some of the easiest programming I've seen. So we have a specific elevator door controller, and it'll control up to 90 floors. When you purchase that elevator door controller, it comes with 10 floors and a controller ready to go out of the box. So you've got your reader, you've got outputs for 10 floors, and this is where you program it. You give it a name, in this case, lobby elevator cab north. I've got this on a network. Again, Wiegand reader, and then I've got floors. So here I've added my first output module and I've labeled all of the floors. If I wanted to add more, I would just simply go in and hit plus, and it adds the second, and I can add my next 10 floors. So again, I'm labeling it. Very easy to make this happen. Very easy for the installation. And same thing here. We've got the replace X1. So if something happens to this elevator controller, then it's very easy to replace, quick for your installers, a very fast service call. On the side panel over here, this is mostly the site information that we've been talking about so far. So on the side panel over here, we're going to jump into diagnostics. This is where we can get even more information on our panels and their health. So the first thing I can do is I can come in and I can view analytics or test connection. If I click test connection, it's going to go out. It's going to say, hey, panel, are you there? The panel's going to say, I sure am, and I see you. We are connected, so everything's good, and it'll show a checkbox. Also, we go to the next step here. So we're showing the panel is connected and it's green, and so are all of the doors. So if anything were to happen to the panel or any of the doors, they could either be in that state, that red yellow, or green. And again, green is good. Red means one of our communication options is working, but the other one's not, so the panel is online. And of course, red means it's offline. I can go in and view analytics very quickly, and there's a few things I'd like to show you here. First of all, you can see voltages. So here I've got my normal AC volts in. You can see I don't have a battery connected to this. This is a demo system, so I didn't put in a battery. But you can see that. So if the battery's low, it's going to give you that indication right here. It will tell you what firmware version that the panel is on, when it last checked in, and again, the connection type. So those are some of the things that you can see in the diagnostics. The other thing that you can see here is admin activity report. So if I go, I can see that, just today I've logged in and changed some access, but if I go, I can get a full admin activity report here with multiple pages going back 30 days in this case. Okay. So Barrett, did you want to add anything to our Free Spirit scuba system here? And
no, I
think there's one more thing I'm going to show.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think it's important to as everyone's seeing, it's just a really simple interface, right? So we want to ensure that your technicians are efficient on site, that we're getting more out of your technicians that you have, and instead of trying to bring on more and more technicians and then having lots and lots of rigorous training that goes into this. So we've tried to make the interface really simple and easy. So what you're seeing today is the extent of the program, but really allows you to get a lot out of the system.
Absolutely.
For a little.
So I promised that I would show you how the XR, which is our intrusion platform again, and the X1, our access control platform, are programmed and interconnected. So I would go into Dealer Admin and click over here on the Edit button. When I get into the Edit, what I have here is the name. I can actually expand out the address, so I can see the address of this site. I'm using Daylight Savings Time and Central Time. I've got site configuration, so I'm showing outputs because I want to show that on my demo system. But if I had a bunch of systems and I don't want to see outputs because I don't have any outputs connected, I can turn that off. So as a dealer, I'm not looking at that extra space. But right here, XR communication. So the first step in making the XR system and the X1 system communicate is I toggle this and I put in the serial number for the XR intrusion system. Once I've done that, I click Save. And now I've got that part of the integration done, but I need to go into the XR system and do the same with it. So what I would do is go back to my customer site. I will now select the XR 550 on the Free Spirit Scuba site. When I click into that, it gives me some information on the system. I'm interested in going over here again to the top right. Remember the edit button in the X1 system? Same position, it's just called programming here. We'll go into the network options. Second option here, scroll down to the bottom, and I would click this toggle button, the XR-X1 communication over to the right. And that XR-X1 paraphrase below it would automatically populate. That provides us with encrypted communication between the two panels. That is it. Now we're integrated with the XR and the X1 system. It's just that simple.
Yeah, and so really cool integration there. I know we touched on it a little bit, but what that allows your customers to do is if they have, an existing XR intrusion system, they're adding X1 for access, you can do some of the access control features, to prevent false alarms. So you can set up in the group, and I'm sure that we'll look at this in just a second, but if I don't have access because the system's armed, it's going to deny me access, right? I don't want to trigger a false alarm there. Or I can do things like double swipe to arm or disarm the system, so it makes that integration really, really nice and easy. Troy, we did have a question that came in as we were looking at diagnostics. So in the event that an X1 or the network goes down, right? So my ISP is having some kind of problem. What does the X1 do in that scenario?
Well, I think that's a great question, and I actually get that in the field a lot. So with X1, we're storing the entire database in the panel itself. And so what that means is if you do have a network outage, no matter if it's 2 days or 2 minutes, the panel controls everything that happens at the door. So it already knows if you have access. It already knows what doors you have access and what doors you don't. So when you walk up, maybe the network's out, maybe it's not. I'm just a user. I'm going to walk up. I'm going to wave my hand in front of that reader because I have a Bluetooth credential, and it's going to allow me to enter the facility because I have permission to. The second thing it's going to do is it's going to store that event, and when the network comes back, it's going to chronologically populate my event view with the events in proper order at the proper time. So everything happens as usual. you'll have full operation of the system. There's no degraded mode here, so it operates as usual, Barry.
Yeah, and if you have that cell backup, then of course it's going to continue to do its thing over the cell backup. If you've deployed that network only, then as Troy described, there's no degraded mode. It's all fully in the control panel there. And each X1 as well talks to each other over the network as well. So as long as, typically what we tend to see is if there's a network issue, it's typically at the ISP level, right? It's not the local network continues to operate. That's fairly rare that goes down. So the X1s continue to talk to each other over the local network. So for things like lockdown and fires, fire alarms going off, it will continue to operate there and then come back online when everything's back to normal. So just nice that that you're installing a system that your customers it's going to be reliable for them.
Absolutely. All right, so let's take a look. Let's jump out of dealer admin and let's jump into Virtual Keypad. So if you're a DMP dealer, you are very familiar with Virtual Keypad. I know you love it. I know your users love it. Let's talk about how we've leveraged Virtual Keypad to operate the X1 access control system. So the first thing I've done is I've logged in and I'm in my Free Spirit Scuba site, and I've got a dashboard here that I can just take a quick view. So what I've done is I've added some favorite doors, and down here there's some recent events. So if as a user I've logged in, these are the doors I'm most interested in, but maybe somebody else is interested in some others, or maybe I need to add some. So I can come up here and edit my favorite doors. I can add doors here. I can change, now they'll be in alphabetical order, but if I want to see them in a certain order that I prefer, I can move these doors around and make them in any order that I want to see, and then I can apply that. And now you can see my favorite doors. Instead of 3, I've got 5 favorite doors, and it will stay that way when I log back in the next time. So it's admin profile, user profile. When you log into it, it's going to look the way you left it. So I don't want these extra doors, so I'm going to go back in and take these off. There we go. And now I'm back to 3 doors. Now the other nice thing about this, and I'll also, this is also present in the doors tab over here where all of our doors are shown, but in the doors section of the either the doors tab or in the dashboard, we've got a drop down and we've got some operations we can do here. So the first thing is, if I just want to pulse the door, I click on access and it will pulse the door and it'll unlock the door, it'll lock the door, and it'll show that for the pulse time. I've also got the ability to lock or unlock the door. So if I click on unlock, that means the door is going to stay unlocked until I click back on locked. Now what happens if I forget to relock the door? Keep that in mind. I'll show you in a second. The other thing that we have on all of these doors is this drop down. So I can view events for just this door. So let's go in and take a look. So now I'm viewing all events for just the lobby door, but I can even take it a step further. I can put in, I just want to see all the events associated with the user, Troy Rydell. And now I've actually been able to, just without even having to run a report, very quickly look at what's going on at my lobby door and who it is, what somebody did. So very quickly, without having to run a report, I can see everything specific to that door. I can also create a schedule. So if I have an event, let's say we're having a company picnic, and everybody's showing up from 12 to 2, and I need to give access to the building so that people can come in and use the restroom or wash their hands or whatever they need to do, then I can create a quick schedule by going to that door. It'll already have lobby door selected. I don't have to worry about floors, but if I wanted to, I could grab a floor here as well, just to show you that we can do the elevator side as a temporary schedule as well. I can unlock from, what did I say, noon? So we'll start it at noon. That'll be PM. And we'll say we're going to have this picnic. We'll say, it's planned till 2:30, but we're going to put 4, that we want that door to stay unlocked. And then I can come in and make it a temporary schedule where I'm just going to show it today, which is May the 1st, to today, which is May the 1st. So once I've entered that information, now I can click save, and that door will be unlocked, and my picnic goes on, and everybody can come in and have access to those facilities they may need to have access to. So right from the dashboard, very powerful user tools, very simple to use. And as we go into recent events, we'll also be able to see the recent events from the last few days. There's also the lockdown button over here. So if we need to go into lockdown, as an admin, I can click on this button and it'll lock down any of the doors that I have set for lockdown, which I have all of my perimeter doors set for lockdown. The next thing I'm going to jump to is users. So user management is very simple here, but again, visual is really king in our business. It makes the user interface work, makes it intuitive. So when I'm looking at this user interface and I'm looking at the users I have in the system, now again, demo system, I have 6 users, but I can see very quickly names, I can see some green things, some yellow things, and inactive things, some gray things. So what does all that mean? Well, green means I have a credential that's issued and it's valid, it's active. Yellow means I have a credential that's issued, but obviously we can see this test user is inactive. So if I go into the test user, I will be able to see their username, their email, phone number, all of the information I have on them. But you can see this active is on the left, so it is not an active user. And that credential is also highlighted because at this point it's suspended. It's not active, it's not going to work. So that person may be out on FMLA, or there may be some other things going on, and that's the reason why we've chosen to suspend or make that user inactive versus just deleting them. And then you see down here a couple of the users have green and gray. So green again is a valid credential, card, fob, that type of credential, and the gray is a mobile credential. So this says I've issued this person or these people mobile credentials. They have the ability to use a Bluetooth reader and wave their hand. To add a user, it's very simple. Click on Add Users. This will be the time my
it's always the live demo.
Yes.
Send an IT ticket in for
Try
that
this.
one.
Yeah. Try this again. Yeah, I hope I'm not.
There we go. All right.
I thought we lost internet for a second. Okay, so again, live demo. It's never going to fail you. It's going to happen every time. So personnel information, very simple stuff to fill out. I've got user first name, last name. Email address is important here if I'm going to issue a Bluetooth credential. We have to have an email address in there because that's how we send the notification to the user. That's how that tells them the instructions to download that mobile credential into their phone and make it work. We also have the ability to add an app user. So if it's going to be someone who's going to use Virtual Keypad as an administrator, then we can make them an administrator there. And then of course we would add groups. So any assigned groups that we have already, so 24-hour access, credentials, this is where I add credentials, badge or mobile credentials. Very, very simple to do and add a user. And again, you can actually do this from your phone too. So if your user happens to be, let's not say on vacation, but if they're out on a work adventure, maybe gone to ISC show and they've hired someone and can't figure out how to add a user locally, the person that their hiring manager could add them from ISC show right from their phone. Yep. So very, very easy to do. We talked about doors a little bit. Again, doors are, it's basically the same as the dashboard, but this will show all the doors. Now, if I have a door that has, if I have a site that's got 60 doors and I want to look at just a couple, then what I could do is I could pull up the name of those doors and it will pull down to the door I'm looking for. So I don't have to go through 60, it is in alphabetical order, but 60 doors to find the door that I'm looking for. So very simple to search a door and make changes to that door or pulse for access or that type of thing. Events are, we've just added some, what I would say, some criteria screening in the events where we can go in and say, hey, we want to see just a couple of things. We don't want to have to see we don't want to look at all of the events. We want to see kind of what happened over the weekend at this particular door. Mm-hmm. So here I can select today, yesterday, past 7 days, or past 30 days. It will default to 7 days. I can select exactly what events I'm looking for: access granted, access denied, lockdown, door forced open, door propped open, what door I'm looking for, so any or all of them, and then I can add those filters. And as I do that, let's just pull up lobby door, for example. So now it's going to go through, it's going to filter everything else except the lobby door over the last 7 days so that I can see what's happened over the last 7 days at my lobby. So very, very simple to operate without having to run a report. I get an idea of what's going on in my system, and that's very powerful. Groups are how we assign access to doors and who has it. So we'll create a group that may be called 24-hour all access. What this means is every door, every floor, this might be the maintenance person that gets this access. So every door, every floor is set up for this group. It's Monday through Friday, all day long, 24-hour access, doesn't need manager first, can initiate lockdown, can swipe twice to arm and disarm on access. And they have access to both areas that we have on the intrusion system. So this would be a full access group. And of course, based on permissions, typical access control, groups, schedules, assigned to a person. That's how we determine who has access to what, so who goes where, when. Finally, I want to circle back to what happens if I forget to relock a door. So I've gone in and I've locked this door. Now it's unlocked, and it will stay unlocked, and it will stay unlocked until we go back in and lock it. So how do we keep that from happening? Well, one of the ways that we've done, one of the things that you can do is go in and do an auto relock. So this is exactly what I've done. Is I say, hey, just in case this happens, as a business owner, I want to make sure that none of my doors are open over the weekend, or somebody didn't forget to lock a door after they've unlocked it. So I do an auto relock time. So I select all my doors. I select at 5 o'clock, so unlock lock. Now it doesn't unlock the door, it just relocks the door at 5 o'clock. So all my doors become locked again, and I have a secure facility. So very simple to even overcome potential mistakes in the system. And then, of course, rules. We can create all sorts of rules. I've got a couple of rules in here. Lockdown notification. It's basically an if-then and a schedule. So you can put in, if there's a lockdown, only send notification. And I haven't put any recipients in here, but if I were to put my name in, then anytime somebody locked down the system and anytime there's a restoral, it would send me an email. So, and of course, we've got some video integrated here. So this is my test system. This is my demo system. And so what we've got here is just some cameras set up. The upper left camera is not going to populate. That was a test camera. I've taken it back off. But these are all the cameras that, you know, this system has integrated with it. So now we can integrate some video. We can integrate our intrusion, all with our access control system, and have it work in a seamless way.
Yeah, so lots of powerful tools there, Troy, in Virtual Keypad. Again, as you mentioned, really bringing together access control, intrusion, user management, video, all in a single platform for your customers. So it makes that very nice and easy. One other thing that you can do in Virtual Keypad as well is if your customers, maybe it's a multi-site customer, right? They have multiple locations. They need to put that cleaning person in multiple locations. Also in Virtual Keypad, you can add that user one time and have it sent down to each of those systems. So in the amount of time that it would have taken you to add a single user to a single system, you can add it to 50 sites, 100 sites, 1,000 sites. So lots of powerful tools in Virtual Keypad. So Troy, in the essence of time, let's shift gears a little bit here. Let's talk about the X1 hardware. So we've talked about all of the great features that the X1 has, both in deployment by the integrator and for the end user. Talk to us about some specific hardware details as folks are looking at the X1 series.
Sounds good. So let's spend just a minute on the X1 hardware. There's not going to be a test after this, so don't try to memorize everything on the next few slides. I just want to give you a visual of the hardware and talk about a few options you have when selling X1 to your sales prospects. So the first thing is our single door controller. Very powerful unit. It starts off with a single door. It comes with a power supply. It can also be PoE powered, but it's expandable to 8 doors. So let's just say you start off with a single door system. It's in maybe a strip mall. Only the front door is done in this system, and your customer calls you back and says, hey, we want to do our storage room door. Very simple to do. Add that XD. Now you've got a 2-door system. The other thing that I'll mention about the X1 is it does support 2 readers. So I touched on this earlier, but that gives you in-out reader capability with a door position switch and a request to exit. Also a programmable custom input if you need that as well. Again, I mentioned the PoE capable. It also supports standard power supplies, supports Wiegand or OSDP, and Bluetooth mobile credentials.
You know, one of the nice things about the X1 as well, supporting Wiegand and OSDP, is it's pretty agnostic to the reader. So as long as that particular reader can output Wiegand or OSDP, it's compatible with the X1. So again, you're not having to search through a compatibility list that we've published of what readers can be used. As long as they can output those, it's ready to go with the X1. So it makes it super flexible.
True, absolutely. The other thing that I'll mention is you'll notice in the picture that little yellow antenna sticking up. So every controller comes with an Ethernet connection and Wi-Fi connection. Yep. So even if you don't have an Ethernet connection, if there's a mesh system, a mesh network there, you can connect to that as well. That is included with the X1 controller. So the next enclosure that we have, or the next system that we have, is our X1-8 pre-configured, ready to go for 8 doors. When it lands on your dock, it looks exactly like the picture. It's wired up, set up to go. All your installers do is go out and hang it on the wall. It comes with everything you need for 8 doors. It's got an X1 controller, 7 XDs, a 5-amp power supply to power all the modules and your locks and your readers and your request to exits. This is a kit in a box for 8 doors, ready to go. So it is also network and Wi-Fi capable right out of the box with an optional cellular communication. Now the nice thing about this cellular here is we only connect cellular to our control panel. So in this case, you're running 8 doors off of one cellular connection. So it's very easy to install, very highly capable, and if you're doing legacy takeovers where these things are located in the IDF or MDF closets, this thing, take the old controller off the wall, put the new controller up, land the wires, and you're ready to go.
Yep, that's a good point. You know, this X1-8 is really great, as you mentioned, for takeovers, right? I've already got something there. The X1 is designed to go at the door, but super flexible, can go really wherever. It can go near a closet, near that door. So really, no matter how you're taking over your new install, we've got you covered.
The other thing that I'll mention is, so far I've shown you the 1-door enclosure and the 8-door enclosure that comes with the power supply. Outside of that, we also have, or I should say in addition to that, we also have a 3-door enclosure. We're coming out with a 4-door enclosure. We have the 8-door enclosure without the modules in it, and we have a 16-door enclosure. I would say it's a back plate that fits in this 8-door enclosure. So you can do 1, 3 modules, 4 modules, 8 modules, 16 modules, depending on what type of install you're running up against. Make it very simple, all in one place or spread out across the building. However, whatever you need, it's very flexible for that installation.
Yep.
So the next thing is, I mentioned the elevator controller earlier, and it's all in one. So this comes with the X1 controller and the first 10 outputs. This is ready to go for 10 floors. The expansion modules give you up to a total of 90 floors of elevator control per cab. And we give you also, as you noticed in the programming, I sort of went over that pretty quickly, but granular floor permissions. So as a user, someone may only have permission to go to floor 3, 4, and 7. I can set that up in their group, and they will only be able to go to 3, 4, and 7. So that can be also configured on a schedule. The next thing is the output module. The one thing I want to say about this, and this is very unique, I think if you're not looking at an on-premise software-based system, when you're looking at cloud-based systems, one of the big challenges is site-wide configuration control, global I/O. Almost everybody skips over that and never says, hey, we don't do that. Well, the X1 will. The reason why is because those controllers talk to each other, and they're also talking through the cloud. So we have the ability to do global I/O in these relay modules. The relay modules, as you notice in the controller, comes with the first 10 output relays. You can add 2 more to this type of enclosure, or you can grab one of the other enclosures and put up to 9 modules for 90 outputs. With the 2 on the panel, that gives you 92 total outputs. I can't imagine what you could do with all those outputs, but hey, surprise me, I would love it.
Absolutely. And then you're taking advantage of those outputs through the rules that we looked at in Virtual Keypad, right? So
exactly.
If you're unlocking, locking, we're turning things on, off, really whatever you want, super flexible.
All right, and I want to talk about just a few of my favorite, now we have a lot of accessories, but these are my favorite accessories. So first of all is the X1 PoE module. This gives you the ability to put a single door controller over a door tied to PoE, managing everything at that door. So that would be the lock, that would be the reader, the request to exit motion, everything at that door with a PoE module, which is piggybacked. It's a daughter board for the X1. So when you need that, that would be an accessory that you would add to the X1, and now you've got PoE control, or PoE for power. You can put that controller right above the door. The next one, of course, we've talked about is the cellular module. This is, think about HOAs with that gate that doesn't have network access, and how am I going to get something out there, and how far do I got to trench, and what roads and sidewalks do I have to go under? Don't worry about that. Connect a cellular module to the X1 controller, and now you have that ready to go, connected to the system. And to the end user, it's seamless, whether it's connected via network, Wi-Fi, or cellular, it just works. And also, my last but most favorite is the SR3 Bluetooth reader. This is that Bluetooth credential. It's highly secure. You may have seen a presentation that I gave based on, we have a hole in the boat, so when we talk about 125 kilohertz credentials and Wiegand communication, they're highly susceptible to several different types of, being able to pick up that data. So with the SR3 Bluetooth reader, you're encrypted. You're covered end to end. It's much more secure for your access control system and your customer. So that concludes our presentation today.
Yeah. It's a great overview, Troy.
Yeah.
We actually do have a question, really just looking for some clarification. When we talk about, 8 doors, or we're talking about doors, we're talking about those are the physical doors at the location, right? So each X1, I'm going to put an X1 at that door, and then I can put up to 8 or 7 additional doors connected to that. So think of the X1 as kind of that's the MIDI control panel, right? And I can add expansion to each door on that. And so again, each one of those, network, Wi-Fi, cell backup, cell primary, can be run all over the network, and all of those are talking together. And so as we talk about doors, yeah, we are saying that each one of those has a door, each one has a controller for that. Again, doing the reader, request to exit, the lock, powering all of that.
Absolutely.
Hannah, did we have any other questions throughout the webinar today that we can answer?
Let me see. I think we have one more open question. Anyone who's listening, feel free to submit now. We're reading the Q&A portion of today's webinar. But one that we did have that came through that you kind of did answer, but maybe they joined a little bit later, was how does the X1 integrate with other DMP products? Maybe you can kind of touch on that a little bit more.
Yeah, so I mean, we talked about the X1 to the XR integration. So that gives you, of course, as we mentioned, but for those that may have joined late, the ability to do that swipe twice to arm. So as your employees are leaving for the day, rather than going to that intrusion system, maybe they don't even have access to the intrusion system, they can go to the reader that they leave at, swipe twice, and it's going to arm that intrusion system by area. So you can say that reader is only going to arm this lobby area, the office area, or maybe it's going to arm the whole system. So it makes that super flexible. And then as we mentioned, it's going to deny entry if the system's armed. So we don't want to cause false alarms. And so it can do that as well. And then I think the other thing that's worth mentioning, Troy, is just it integrates with other products through the software, right? The unification of all of the DMP offering, X1 included, through dealer admin, through virtual keypad, sending users down to many different system types. So really makes it flexible. Anything to add to that?
No, I think you covered it. That's exactly perfect answer. That's why I like to sit next to a product manager.
So, Troy, it looks like we've got another question from Andrew. So what are the hardware locks? What's the hardware that's compatible with the X1? Is it just mag locks, door strikes? What are we looking at?
Yeah, so when you're installing access control, typically your locks are going to be 12 or 24 volts. The panel will handle either. So really the locks are fairly inconsequential. You can do a fail safe, fail secure, strike, mag lock, pretty much any type of lock, electrified lock that you're going to need for that, cylindrical locks, those types of things. What you're going to want to pay attention to is the voltage for those locks. So it's usually either 12 or 24 volts, and you want to make sure that whatever power supply you buy that power supply, and then we can run those through our dry contacts, the door relays, on the X1. So that it really is wide open.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, this is one of those things I get a lot of questions on, is like, what locks can I use? And really, I like to say, well, you can use any of them, but there are a few gotchas you have to think about. So what I would say is, if you have any questions about that, please contact our regional sales managers. You can find the right one, or myself, on our website, and we'll be happy to help you configure the system. Tech support is super adept at knowing these power supplies and power consumption rates and all of those things. So we're more than happy to help you out. But the answer to your question is pretty much any lock. Pretty much any lock.
So to that end, Troy, you mentioned inside sales. Give us just a second. How can folks, if they're not a DMP dealer today, maybe they are a DMP dealer today, but they're interested in the X1, how can they, what's the next step to be able to move forward with that?
Yeah, so first of all, our DMP dealers, you go to the buy site, you're already authorized. There's actually this is a very simple system to program, so there's really no certification needed. If you haven't ever installed an access control system, I have a few modules within our LMS that I would highly recommend you walk through. There's like 8 of them that's fairly simple to go through, and by the end, you'll know how to install the X1 system and program it. For people that are not a DMP reseller yet, we would love to talk to you. There's a lot of opportunity at DMP to help build your business around all 4 disciplines of our security industry, whether you're talking intrusion, video, access, fire, we have products for all of those, and they're all made in the USA, and they're all tested with the same rigorous standards. So we would love to talk to you. There is you can go to the Buy DMP on our website, www.dmp.com. Click on Buy DMP. At the bottom, you'll see Become a Dealer. Click on that Become a Dealer link, and it'll take you to a little contact form that you fill out, and we'll call you right back.
Awesome. Looks like we got a couple other questions while we were going through that. So on the PoE module, it's of course supplying power to the X1. How much extra, is there extra power to power door strike, other peripherals? There
is. So that's the whole purpose. You can set the relays for the door strike to either wet or dry. So if you've got an external power supply, that would be a dry contact that you would set that jumper to. If you've got PoE connected, you set it to the wet application. It'll give you 750 milliamps to that. I believe 750 milliamps to that relay. Yep. So plenty of power to drive, particularly a strike, even most mag locks.
Yeah, so that's nice. You can run single cable. It's both going to give you your communication and your power. Another question here, and I hope that I'm understanding the question here, but it's, can you sync with other panels at the premise? So I'm thinking of that in maybe two ways. One is, if it's an existing site, add on doors at any time. Right? We didn't talk about it today, but you can even pre-program that door. So prior to installation, whether that is the initial installation or maybe, hey, a couple months later, we're adding on, we need a new door. You can pre-program that X1 in dealer admin, and then as soon as your technician arrives on site, powers up the system, gets it connected, it's gonna get that programming down automatically. And then as far as, syncing with maybe other intrusion systems that might be on site. Of course, if it's an XR, if it's a DMP, really nice, easy integration there. But even if it's, maybe it's a Honeywell system or a Bosch system that's there, and you're not ripping out the existing intrusion system, though we encourage you to do that and replace it with a DMP system, that might not be feasible. The X1 has a integration with other competitor alarm panels. That's going to be through taking an output on the X1, running it to an input on the the host panel, and then vice versa, right? So it allows you to do, again, still some of those swipe twice to arm, disarm on access features, just a little more analog through the inputs and outputs. So pretty flexible.
Right. I don't know if that question came in at the same time, but I'll reiterate that with PoE. You can power everything at a door, a single door, with PoE or PoE Plus, either one, connected to our PoE daughter board and our X1 controller. So that's going to mean it powers the controller. It will charge the battery in the controller. It will power the lock. It'll cycle that lock. It will power the Rex motion if you have one of those. So yes, it will power everything at the door. I will say, I think sometimes you've got some high, if you've got a 5,000-pound mag lock, we're probably going to want to double check that it doesn't exceed our 750 milliamps out on our wet our relay contact. But I think that would be fairly rare. Yeah. Fairly rare. The other nice thing is if you're not running PoE, that X1 comes with a 40 VA transformer, 16.5 40 VA transformer. Now, I used to be an electronics technician on fast attack submarines, so I can do the math really quick, and that is 2.4 amps of output power that we have coming from that transformer. So even with the transformer plugged in, maybe you don't have PoE, but with that transformer that comes with the X1, it will power everything at the door. It actually has more power than the PoE network does. So you're going to be safe either way.
It's good.
Excellent. All right, so it looks like that, as of right now, is all the questions that have been submitted. We do have the full hour slotted, so I will leave it up to you guys if you'd want to touch on any other subjects or maybe wait for more questions, or if you feel good about closing it out right now.
Well, I'll say I'm in sales, so I will touch on one other subject. And I think, when you think about the access control market as part of the greater physical security market, but when you focus in on the access control market, we're at about a $10 billion market globally today. Between now and 2030, that's estimated to grow from 10 to $19 billion. So we're looking at, and there's some, we're looking into the future here. So there's a few different, depending on who you go look at, some people are saying 12% compound annual growth rate. I went with the more conservative 8.2%. even with, and if I can only get my stocks to do that, I might retire someday. Even with that growth, think about it. I mean, the size of the access control market, that total addressable market, is going to grow from 10 billion to almost double in 10 years. So my question to you would be, what part of that market are you going to go get? How much do you want to grow your business? Can you see where access control might help you reach those goals as far as revenue growth for your company?
Yeah, tremendous opportunity there. And of course, we want to be able to partner with you to do that with products like the X1 and other products that DMP offers, our strong technical support, our sales support, and our training. We want to be able to help you grow your business as well.
Absolutely. So
Excellent.
Hannah, back to you. I think that'd be the last word I would have on this.
Awesome. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for everything that you presented here today. And attendees, I'm sure you can reach out to our professionals here today to get any more information that you may need. I'll just close us out. Thanks, everybody.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to sit with us for about an hour. We thoroughly enjoy it. We would love to talk to you if you have any more questions.
Yep.
Absolutely. Have a good day, Security Pros.